said I'm coming. I'm coming right now. Come on in, y'all.
Truly honored and blessed to spend and invest time with these guests, but most importantly, spend time and invest time with you too. If you don't know who I am, I'm Rob De La Rosa, the bald-headed Dominican from the Bronx, and all you gotta do to help me, help you, is like, comment, subscribe. Guys, before we get into the episode, I want to say thank you to everybody who subscribed to the channel. Near and dear to my heart, we had 3,600 subscribers. Here's what's been happening. In the last interviews, people have been saying, hey, where can I get that shirt? Hey, is that merch? And I've been listening to you, but it feels like there's a lot to do at the current moment, unless you help us get to 5,000 subscribers. Not only would that help us get more guests and attract more people, we could also drop the merch at that point. So let's get there collectively. 5,000 subscribers, merch will drop. Appreciate y'all. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to another episode of In the Living Room Podcast with yours truly, Rob De La Rosa, the bald-headed Dominican from the Bronx. And today, you have me. Something that this has been requested from some people or things that have been told to me by my guest. And it's on my heart as a podcaster, as a person who's owning their profession in this space, to really come out here and say what I think has been working for me as far as extracting vulnerability and transparency with my guest. Number one, that's something that I was looking to do before I started the podcast. I was in the search for what's real out here. You know what I'm saying? Who can I lean on to tell me the truth or be transparent about their process? Because in the age today where social media is a highlight for everybody, we could get lost in comparison. I was blessed to be off social media for 2 years and then came back on with a purpose to provide content that one, I would enjoy watching. Me, myself, and I love you, first and foremost, for those who are following, who's been here from the beginning, who watch everything, who reach out to me on the DMs, who give me a call, random screenshot. That means the world to me because I know that it's touching somebody. But the goal and the mission was to make sure I can get that out of the guest that are in the room to make it okay for you to do that yourself, right? It's not an easy process, but what is life if we're not being authentic and transparent? Like, it really is. Like, at the age I'm at today, what I love the most is when I'm in a room and I can be myself and I can feel that people are being themselves. Key word is feel, right? Because people are paint whatever, but your gut don't lie to you. I was told, or I heard that when you're a baby, the gut and the brain are the closest things together. So when you grow up and you feel like something in my gut, it's for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Those things together, they coexist. So trust your gut. So here's just some things that I do, my process. Like, I'm going to give you a peek of what I do when I get a guest to try to get the best out of them in the sense of transparency and vulnerability. One is create a safe environment. For the record, we're in my living room. This is actually my living room. So don't take any offense to anyone who I don't let on or I'm hesitant to let on, because I got to know you to some degree or know enough about you, or it got to be a hot recommendation, right? Got to be from someone that I trust their judgment, because it's a safe space for me. Then, of course, in turn, I'm going to make it a safe space for someone else. Now, how do I do that? First and foremost, me and my man Narrative, we set the tone. We playing music, we talking anything and everything that makes us upbeat, good conversation, and get that energy in the room before the guest even gets here. I like candles, drink some water, whatever we gotta do, stay hydrated. Ladies and gentlemen, stay hydrated, you feel me? That's a big part of how the lighting's amazing, but the skin glowing because of the water intake, right? Take care of thyself, thy health, so that way you can see that also for appearance, right, for someone else. I make sure the room and the place, one, is a place that you want to be at because it's, one, clean. We got to keep the place clean. Two, the energy is high. So you create the safe environment. Another thing that's important is the conversation before we start. One, I tend to like to have a conversation with the person, depending on the relationship, because some advice I was given early on was, I wonder what you would do. Rob, I wonder how you would do with somebody that you don't know. Because it seems like the reason you get the best out of all these people is because you know them already And there's a trust factor there, which was a challenging input where it was like, interesting. Let's see if I can do that with someone that I don't know. And honestly, I've been good with this because I genuinely care about the people that come on the show. Like, I have a genuine interest of what they do, what they go through, and how they get to where they're at. I really do. So the small talk prior to, what I don't want to get to too much detail is what we're going to speak on, because I want the authenticity behind the conversation. You know, I want that to be caught on camera. Like, the genuine, like, how do you do that? That's just true. But I definitely start with this. This is a piece that I think everybody should know. The first thing I ask all my guests is there anything you do not want to discuss? Anything that's off limits, and I make sure they ponder on that, right? Depending on the circumstances. Some of my guests don't know the things that I know about them. So when I ask that, I guess some of them are like, what can he say or what does he know? So I show anything off limits. Let me know. Relationships, business partners, past experiences, anything, let me know. And I let them sit and wait. And if they give me no, we're green light. The second thing I ask is there anything you do want to talk about? Is there anything you want me to highlight in the process of this interview? Where do you want us to leave this interview? For me, I want to go through the story, right? Who's the person prior to the success or the trials and tribulations? How are they wired this way? And how me, as the interviewee, the person narrating the conversation, how do we get there and me not getting lost in the excitement of the conversation? It's been a skill set that I had to build, but I know it's important for my guest, okay? Secondly, for my podcasters out there, from the bottom of my heart, please ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions is what allows the interview to go in the direction it's supposed to. What I mean by an open-ended question is avoid anything that has to do with yes or no. Like, do you like business? Yes or no? That's a very simple question, right? If they could respond with no, it forces you to try to come up with another question that can kind of get you stumbled in the conversation. You asked open-ended questions, so it allows them to go into their memory or their current situation. Things like, is there been a time that you failed and it hurt your self-esteem? How did you overcome that? It would put them in a place where they have to go into two places. One, their memory bank, like they have to go back there and really visualize those things and talk about how they went out there, or speak on something that they're going towards. In the near future, is there a company that you see that you would acquire, and what would you do to change that business in their current standings today? Thought-provoking. They had to go dig and, what does that mean? And we're both in there thinking about the anticipation of where would they go with that question. Please, if you're going to interview people, stay away from yes or no, simple blank questions. The ones that are getting annoying, let's stop asking people for their body count, please. It's usually the ones that don't got a body. Let me not even go there, right? I'm not even going to go there with y'all. Let's change the narrative, right? Especially people like us. For the people that I'm Dominican, Latino from the Bronx, Section 8 housing. I'm tired of the narrative being the only thing that moves on social media if it's controversy. Thank God for the people I've had on my platform, and we've done millions of reels, like views on reels that went viral because it was positive stuff. Stop the nonsense. This one was huge for me, right? I'll say in the beginning part of my stages, I am a speaker by nature, right? I have a platform where I'm doing less talking. Now I'm talking because it was a request. And if you like this, let me say this. If you're really enjoying this part of my content and you want to see more of me, more of my inputs of things that I feel I'm credible to give you advice on, please comment that in the section. That mean a lot to me, because I want to make sure I'm giving you things that you're looking for, okay? But active listening, that one was, for me, oh man, at the beginning, there's so many episodes, man, that I look at and the cringe, right? Where like someone, I think I have ADHD, 85.5C, whatever those things are, right? And that's an excuse you could give yourself to not get better, because if I ask the question and in the middle of the person talking, I'm like, oh, I have another question. I have another question on top of that question. And I don't want to forget my question. I'm making it about me. Take this piece. Just be present in the conversation. It ain't about your performance. It's about your attention. Active listening. You can ask one question that could lead to 3 other questions that you didn't even have prepared, right? Like my prime example of, I think the episode I asked the least questions was JD con su flow, right? I think total, I might have asked 5 questions. Interview was an hour and 30. Check the numbers yourself. Feel free to go back. JD con su flow, incredible. It just felt like it was therapeutic. Like I was gone in the conversation. I wasn't even there. He even referenced like, yo, bro, I'm talking too much. And it was perfect for me because I was an active listener. Let me give you the interview for me because I don't want to give you advice on things that I wouldn't take myself. The interview that I cringed the most when I watch is with my boy Masood Dorsett. Oh my God, I hate that interview so much. Oh my, because first and foremost, this is the great thing about content. There's some people that absolutely love that interview, right? Absolutely gave me raving responses. So be easy on yourself. Here's a message, y'all. Some of us got to get good at hitting ourselves over the head with a feather opposed to a bat. Be lighter on yourself as you're doing things you've always wanted to do. The outside noise could get you out the game, but if you're the one getting yourself out the game, it's on you. Light with the feather. Shout out to Priscilla. You said those words in front of me, never left my mind. So be nice in your process of your own critique, but people love the interview. I kept cutting Masood off. I also felt like it's supposed to be an interview where I'm supposed to ask him more questions. And truthfully, I learned in that process, like, no, if they go wherever they want to go, it's my job to remember the key things that we spoke about in the beginning. What do you want to talk about? And find a way to get to that point, okay? But cutting people off wasn't done intentionally because I want you to hear my point. I got that point of view as well. Like, it seems like you want to make sure you can show your knowledge and that you know what you're speaking about. When truly, if it's about the other person, it's about the other person. I take this process as me dancing salsa with somebody or dancing a bachata with somebody. You know what's the biggest pet peeve? Is when I'm dancing with somebody and they turn themselves. I'm like, yo, instantly it's a grab. And shout out to you, Arlene. You know what I'm talking. Shout out to you. Where I'm like, listen, I'm in control here. But because I'm in control, my only job is to make you look good, to make you look better than what I do. It's not to outshine you. So if you're interviewing somebody, please stay away from trying to one-up your guest. You have a guest for a reason. The times and the pockets for you to elaborate on what they said, they exist, but you have to be an active listener first. In retrospect, right, just to double down on that, once you're active listening and that's locked in, you can then share your experiences, right? Let me give you a prime example. I think Ian Dunlap, right? If you didn't watch the duration of that episode, I know from experience and watching Ian long enough that Ian tends to change the conversation on people and make the interview about them. With anticipation, I wanted to avoid that. I tried to cut the interview off at like an hour, caring about, the details, like, people's attention span and stuff like that. Shout out to y'all. Over 40,000 people have watched that episode. So if you gotten to the point where Ian now becomes the person that's asking me questions, what that did was I got his buy-in to let him know and show him that I was paying attention to him with verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Shout out the narrative. He gets a lot of my head nodding, my eyelids, that means I'm really locked in with the person. And that allows the person to know, like, okay, I can see that the person's feeling me, seeing me, hearing me. Now let me get some of this person. It allowed us to kind of tennis the interview, which I wanted to avoid. I wanted to make it all him. But because it was such a safe space as well, it allowed me to share my own experiences for him to understand me as well. And for those who watched, I speak on that dynamic a lot. I got a lot of feedback on that. And I genuinely appreciate that experience. It was amazing. This is a huge one. Be empathetic. If someone is speaking, I don't know, if sometimes you got to understand if this is a calling for you or not. Like, you got to be a person, right? If someone's going to speak on a loss or a hardship, a hard time, I'm there with that person. Like, I'm personally, a gift that I was given is my imagination. When I talk about Abby, and Abby talks about, that's an episode where she called, I can't even pronounce it, rheumatoid arthritis, what level that is. But the point is she was paralyzed. That's a great friend of mine. I didn't even know she was going through that. I was stunned. And I asked, how did you get out of that? What did you do? What's the genuine conversation? Here's why as well. I understand that I'm in the room with these people borrowing their belief and their strength. See, it's one thing that we hate in life is Indian givers, right? You ever got a gift from somebody and from your traumas, it's like somebody gives you a gift and you scared to take it because you anticipate them asking for it back and you just don't feel good? Well, I'm an Indian borrower. You give me something that I'm gonna borrow and I'm never gonna give that back to you. I'm gonna borrow that story and that strength and use that for future references forever. And you're not even gonna realize that I use your power, like those moments you had to really help me as a person. Because when I'm going through pains in my body, I think about the severe challenges that you went through that allowed me to borrow your belief that you're gonna get better, my belief to get better. But you gotta be empathetic. You can't rush through that process with somebody if you're interviewing a person. It means a lot to the person. It means a lot to the audience. It means a lot to the craft. Don't rob people from the opportunity to transparently speak on how they feel. They might not even have the opportunity to do that somewhere else. You have that in the room. Follow up with thoughtful questions, all right? Like, I don't know how to necessarily, I guess it's something that I've been doing for a while where I kind of referenced that already at the beginning, but when someone gives you something they probably haven't spoken on, if you watch my interviews, one thing I do, cherish that a lot of my guests have said things like, you know what? I've never shared this before. And I'm being very conscious when I hear that. To hear someone say, you know what? I never shared this before really shows the testament of how comfortable the person has become. And I don't want to run away from that place if they never shared it before. How much can we abstract from that person to know that it's also a gift for everybody listening to share those moments, right? So you got to follow up with something thoughtful. Please follow up with something thoughtful. As a fan of the art, don't rob us from the story if someone is at the point where you could tell life is about to change because of what they experienced. Here's a huge one. Respect people's boundaries. I did say at the beginning, I asked people, what do they want to talk about? What don't they want to talk about? What I would never do is then go against my word for clickbait. This is insane. Now, granted, hear me out. I understand there's a different kind of machine today, and you're trying to figure out what works, and maybe everybody's purpose is different behind the stuff that they put on social media. But I'm only here, whether the algorithm works for me or not, and we'll push through with consistency, is to provide healthy material, right? Like, I'm not going to go against, what my guests, because that's the relationship that matters most, is the relationship with the guests than the relationship with the audience that I don't even know I have or I'm trying to gain based off clickbait. Those come and go. Relationship with the people that you have on your show could be, trust me, those would be people that get you indoors that you never had access to, but because how you made them feel and what you trusted and what they trusted you with, the information off camera and on camera would open doors for you that a freaking follower or subscriber would never do. Trust me on that. So please respect the boundaries, because us talking down our own people, I'm tired of it. It's annoying at this point. Like, what do we respect nowadays, right? You have to be a man of some type of character, some type of merit to get a audience or a following or a guest that would like to be on your show. And last but not least, use silence effectively. There's been times where I'm stunned on what the person has shared, and I use that silence. I have nothing to say. I'm going to soak in what I feel. Truthfully, what some of you don't know is I'm also saying thank you. I'm saying when I'm thanking a person, I'm also thanking God. Like, wow, they really gave that to me. They really trusted me. I'll say us because I feel like God's in the room when I'm interviewing people. That's just my belief. Where like, I didn't expect that to come. Like, everybody has expectations, but when a movie goes a route that you didn't see, it's the best reward. I'm like, wow. Stunned, lost for words. I'm going to use that silence for two things. so we can soak it in, that energy, that tension, or that release, me and the guests and the people in the room, we really feel that. But to also gather my thoughts and my emotions, like, that one hit me hard. I have episodes where I cry, and I kind of caught it coming, like, oh, Liz Bell caught me in an episode, I'm about to cry. I don't want to cry on camera. Silence. Gather my thoughts, but giving that space, oh my God, there's so much magic in space. Ask the question, let it breathe. Let them respond, let it breathe. You don't know what to say, take a pause, let it breathe. It'll come to you. Let's not rush the process. Those were, I believe, 6 things I gave you that I believe I do and I practice every single time to extract vulnerability, transparency to all my guests. This is the purpose behind my podcast. It's how do I get the truth at its rawest form? How does it selfishly first serve me and abundantly serve you? I'm your favorite bald-headed Dominican from the Bronx. It's Rob De La Rosa, In the Living Room podcast, where we learn, laugh, and heal. Thank you so much for paying attention to this episode. Share this if it did something for you. If you're not going to subscribe, we love you anyway. Peace.